Pun? I'll do it.
We're here.
Boom! What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the DadBodd podcast, episode number 110, Super Bowl edition. I am Guns Picks, and I am joined with the prop god himself. Oh, he won't call himself at the anytime touchdown guy, Gilles Gallant. You can find him on Twitter, GDog5000. What's going on, my friend? Thanks for joining.
Well, speaking of being on DadBods, I had to start off with a good dad pun. So this is going to be episode minus 110 by the time I leave.
Perfect.
Boom.
Perfect. I want a good dad. I love a good dad pun. Let's go.
Yeah, no, and that's all I got though. That just came to mind as soon as you said it was episode 110. Obviously, we talk about a lot of betting. Minus 110.
Oh, minus one. I got it.
Is the mid-range jump shot of sports betting, but it's the most common sports bet you'll ever find with respective odds.
Yeah. All right. See, like sometimes I don't catch every joke. It takes me time to process. But guess what? We're going to have an electric show on this one. You can find Gilles Gallant on the Action Network. He has the Touchdown Show, which is part of the Sunday package usually. And they're going to be having a lot of stuff on the Super Bowl. So please go check that out. He is the anytime touchdown specialist. But don't forget that he also knows INTs and he knows home runs as well. Want to get into a little NFL talk? Pun?
Do it.
Kick it off, kid.
Go, go, go!
I'm not going to start with the Super Bowl because we have to talk about the Pro Bowl here, folks. So it was a little bit of a switch to what we're used to seeing in the Pro Bowl for probably good reasons. They don't want to injure their investments into the players. So it became a little bit more of a fun flag football type of situation. Felt like watching your 8-year-olds on the field before they get into the pads, before they do tackle football. I watched a little bit of it. I fell asleep sometime around the first quarter, second quarter, because I'm a dad and I take naps. But I know you've probably watched it intensively, Gilles. What did you think about the Pro Bowl new look in Las Vegas?
Contrary to popular belief, I also have kids. And so I wasn't staying up too late to watch them. But I did enjoy some of the skills that they were doing. I mean, I did find it kind of funny that, Tyreek Hill got decked in just kind of like a little playful way. But other than that, like, there's not really much to take from it. I mean, unless they're actually going to play competitively, and just because it's football, because it's such an aggressive sport, there's no way that they could even play kind of like half-heartedly without, hurting somebody. And, money is a big deal in these things. So like pretty much every all-star game has kind of went downhill since our childhood, like the way that we would revere the MLB all-star game or even the NBA all-star game, even the hockey, like NHL, like back in the 90s, like, those were fun games to watch just to be able to see star players be able to play with them. Guys that they would just, again, player movement was so minimal back then as well. So it's at the end of the day, I would rather, this is going to sound like a big Negatron take, but I would rather they just give the athletes the week off and everybody else the week off. And everybody just chill. And then we just come back refreshed. And then we take, like, if NBA specifically, it's like if it meant that no all-star weekend, but we reduce load management by like 30%, like, you know what I mean? Like where guys just aren't randomly sitting out as a result, I would vote for that in a heartbeat at this rate.
Yeah, I think at least the NFL realized that the Pro Bowl there's a lull week every time. It's always 2 weeks. Every time after the AFC NFC Championship, we need to fill this with the Pro Bowl. I actually thought that the system worked before. I mean, players are always going to be competitive in those situations, but injuries as they may, a lot of guys don't want to jeopardize their careers on a what is really an exhibition match. So for those who don't remember the classic Pro Bowl and how these guys used to compete, I think Pun can bring up a good example that was posted on Twitter here.
What is this one? What is this?
Yeah, case from Ari. Wait,
Oh.
hold on. Pause for a second, Pun.
On the run, and he's gonna...
So what you're gonna witness here is a fake punt, and there's gonna be a little something happening here with a great competitor, RIP. But let's play this clip out full. Oh
Man.
Play that back one more time. Bam!
And forget RIP to Sean Taylor. RIP to that kicker, man. Man.
Oh, who died there? It's like you forget Sean Taylor's the dead one, but like I think the punter died that day. Like,
there's a select few athletes, dude, that you could just go back and watch like their highlight reel. Like earlier today, I was watching. This is going to sound so nerdy, but like I was watching a defensive highlight reel of Greg Maddux, who won like friggin' like 15 or more gold gloves and just doing like crazy stuff from the mound. And every once in a while, I'll do the same thing. Well, I'll just go back and look at like a hit reel of Sean Taylor back from Miami into Washington. And it's still like, again, most of the hits that you see in those reels, you would never see in the NFL today because guys are just getting decapitated or just being, it would be a 15-yard penalty basically for every hit that he ever made.
It's almost like Sean Taylor forgot he was in a Pro Bowl for a second. He's like, I'm making an open field tackle like I would normally do in an NFL regular season game or a playoff game. Like, I played at the highest level constantly, and that's what I'm going to do for this game. I remember the Pro Bowl being full pads. It's like it got to a point where you couldn't even tackle the guys. Like once you got them stopped, they blew the whistle and it became very nonchalant.
Yeah, they call forward progress pretty fast, like in those kind of games.
Yeah, but seeing hits like that when you're watching an exhibition game, god damn, that used to be fun. Now you got where the Pro Bowl is now. Pun has a few clips on this one. Let's talk about the Digs to Digs INT and show the people what the Pro Bowl has come to now. I mean, if you saw this play, it was a little bit of a flea flicker.
Well, I think the one thing about that play, too, when you see it is like you can tell clearly that Stephon is not a quarterback, like, at all. Like he does the throwing motion and everything. And when you in the highlight itself, like you're just like, okay, like that's just a dude throwing a football. It's not a guy who has been conditioned from a 12-year-old into college, into NFL, and just being able to just have muscle memory of just the wrist flick of a throw. A guy like Stephon Diggs, you don't really expect that from.
Hey, Pun, you got the clip? He's sleeping on this one, but it's like watching two brothers like go against each other on this one. Like it's kind of interesting to see. I don't know if we can see this. Blow it up a little bit.
Yeah, look at that. That was an awful throw. Like
it was a bad throw.
Javon Diggs gonna hold that over his brother's head for the rest of his life.
No, he won't.
I'm sure that's like of everything that he's accomplished as an NFL player and in his time at Alabama. You can't wait every family reunion to bring up the time that he intercepted him in the Pro Bowl. Like, yes,
it will be easily forgotten at the table. Believe me. It's like
or easily dismissed. Like it's just like you intercepted in the Pro Bowl. Whatever. You could sit at the kids' table.
Yeah. It's more of like when we go against each other on the field. It's like, am I going to stop you and get a few picks in that manner, or are you going to get more like yards and touchdowns because you're facing me? I would say Stephon Diggs has the advantage in that one because, quite frankly, I think the younger brother can't. I don't think he's a good cover corner. He's just an opportunist. Like that's just my opinion of that one. But
No,
anyways.
that's fair. I think the main thing with him though is that he is, because of his anticipation, he can make highlight reel interceptions that you don't really see from any other corner. But the problem is that it's kind of like the Manu Ginobili aspect, like the way he was with the Spurs, is that like he'll take these casual chances all the time that you're like, oh, don't do that. So he was kind of like, you live by the sword.
It's almost like baiting the quarterback, but yeah, you're taking risks.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so, his interceptions were down. Also, I will say that just from a completion percentage, if you just looked at it for the full season, not trying to get into a let's defend Trayvon Diggs scenario here, but was pretty good. He was top 5 cornerback, like from that standpoint, like just from like a PFF grade and all that stuff. But regardless, there were still times I remember him playing up against the number 1 corner and getting beat. But a lot of the time, that's any number 1 corner. Like there just is no Darrelle Revis. Even Sauce Gardner would probably have gotten beat by that wide receiver if that was the day, right? So it's just more the scheme than anything. I think the one thing that I would say, if we're talking about the Cowboys, Kellen Moore is gone. Dan Quinn, I think, is going to stick around, but maybe he might take off too, and that's going to be the whole coaching staff. So should be interesting as an offseason as a Cowboys fan. But I'm more interested now in the Super Bowl, watching a very chalk 2 number 1 seeds playing each other in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this makes a good transition into the Super Bowl on this one.
Before we start on that, Guns, I wanted to ask you a question because I saw this shared on Twitter. And initially I saw SWN and I was like, is that Sharky Waters Nation? What is this? And then realizing that actually you guys have now been affiliated DadBodds with, I believe it is Sports Wagering Network. I was hoping that you could actually inform me a little bit more about that and some of the viewers that who do watch this show, just to hear a little bit more about what's going on with that.
Yep. So basically anybody that's watching now or watching later, or actually heard my a little bit of my talk about it on the Late Night Banger show yesterday. So basically, we are becoming more of a collaborative effort. It involves myself, it involves the Oddsfell, it involves Punisher, it involves Gabby Cab, and it involves Sharky Sports 88, I think it is now. So. Okay. We are a collaborative effort, just basically trying to build a YouTube channel that is not really competing, but just giving you an additional option to watch some sharp content in multiple sports. We want this to be a content that is around the clock, afternoons, mornings, and night, and this is the start of it. So we decided we were always collaborating with each other. Let's just make this a full unit. Let's call it the Sports Wagering Network. I know it does say Sharky Waters Nation.
Well, initially that's what I thought it was. Fun.
Yeah. When you see the SWN and you see the shark in the background, that's fine. I was like, you could put a gun in the background. I mean, you could put a palm tree in the background for Dabby Cat. It's it's all the same things, and maybe we even do merch that way, just to make it more to deem a collaborative effort. But it's a 5-pronged process. Pun is going to be a lot more in the background and just handling the infrastructure. So we're trying to try to figure out everybody's roles, and the content is just going to be on every sport. So we're going to be around the clock. We're going to do MLB. We're going to do NBA. We're going to do NHL. So that's kind of where the channel's going. We want to grow, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be wanting to watch our content because we are, we have a lot of hot cappers that know multiple sports, and if people want to join us, let's talk. Let's do some content together. And I know Gilles is obviously in alliance with the DadBodd podcast, and
I've been on this show many times,
and I hope he continues to. And I think we want to work with people that are not just part of us, but we want to be able to collab with multiple facets in the process. And I think it's going to be something that could be potentially big for years to come, and it's going to make me work a little bit harder to go put out more content, which is fine with me, and that's what I want to do.
So, Guns, from a outsider standpoint, because again, I only just kind of found out about this recently, so I was like, all right, cool, I want to hear more about it. We talked a little bit about it off air, but what I wanted to know now is if somebody is really a big fan of Shark, big fan of you, big fan of Oddspell, for example, or Pun, you go down the list. There's a lot of cool dudes there. What I wanted to know is, what's the easiest way to access these videos? Is it just through a YouTube stream? Are you going to be doing it through Slack? Like, what's the method? Where is the medium that I can find all this awesome content?
Well, primarily, if you want to be part of the Sports Wagering Network, all you have to do is like, subscribe, and hit the bell, and you'll get all the content. So if you watch stuff on YouTube, you can watch it there. However, there'll be other content that will come through the facets of, if you watch it through Twitter, that's fine too. It's like, you can watch it through Gunspicks, you can watch it through Sharky Waters Nation, and we're in the process of creating something else, just so we can kind of harness all the live content into one Twitter page. But we're in the talks. We're in the infant stage of building the channel, probably like a couple weeks in. So I think the goal is just to focus on the YouTube, get the content out there. So if you're watching this now, like and subscribe to the channel, and that's it. Then you'll always get all the content that comes out here, and it's always live. It's always going to be live, not recorded, not edited. It's going to be absolutely live. So we'll have a very active comments, and you guys can just add all the information during the show, and we'll actually talk about it once we see it. So I'm excited about it. I know Pun is, and I know Odds. I we've had multiple talks about this one, and this is going to be a big thing, and I'm very excited about it.
Well, and I'm pretty excited to see it too, because I mean, I follow all you guys, right? Like, I like to see kind of what kind of content you're doing, what's your angles, what picture kind of putting out. So being able to consolidate all that into one spot will make it much easier for me to obviously stay in connection. And that way, if there's no group messages or anything like that, at least that way I know kind of where people are standing on a pick standpoint. Yep. But the next thing I wanted to kind of think about, Guns, I'm not trying to hijack the show here, but I wanted to ask, we're now a week and a half in, there's 2 more days or 3 rather, of just chilling before we see this game on Sunday between the Eagles and the Chiefs. Is there anything from a media standpoint, media coverage standpoint, that you felt like that you learned from these interviews, or is it just all fluff like it is normally every year?
I think a lot of it's fluff, a lot of it's generic, but you always catch one guy saying something a little bit wrong, or maybe underestimating a receiver, or maybe underestimating the power of Pat Mahomes. It's so there was a couple guys that they really poked out, a couple corners on the defensive side. I don't remember exactly what they said, but it was enough to make it a focal point on a lot of these debate shows. I mean, the media is just looking for high heat. It's Marshawn Lynch, I don't want to get fined kind of situation. It's like,
well, they're also looking for bulletin board material, but just the one thing I think that we've seen as well over the last, I don't know, let's say 15 years of media weeks, and we've all watched them, the clips that are on TSN or Canada TSN, ESPN, and now YouTube as they come out, or even just on Twitter Reels as they go out. It's all just fluff. It's all just kind of like rando questions. Like, you'll see like a dude prank Patrick Mahomes and be like, yeah, I heard Rihanna said that you're her favorite player and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, wow, this is awesome. Should be great at halftime. He's like, actually, I was just kidding. Like, that was like a bit like that he did like at a press conference. I was like, okay, like, it's just a waste of time. Like, and then not only that, and not to say that people didn't already know about these storylines entering Super Bowl week, but I feel like they're just beat to death. Like, yes, I know both Travis and Jason Kelce are in the Super Bowl. I'm very aware of that they're brothers. I'm very aware that there's a third brother now. Like, very aware about their mom and who she favors. Like I shouldn't know about that. I don't really care. And then also Andy Reid going back and playing the Eagles, like the revenge game narrative. Like, again, that's the kind of stuff which is kind of beaten to the ground. The Mahomes ankle injury, surprisingly, has not really been much of a fact. Like, it's been a talking point, but I feel like people are just kind of dismissing that as like, all right, he's good now, And I think, if anything, like when we talk about the matchup itself, I mean, as somebody who works in the sports betting industry and is just absorbing all this content from both sides, like just from my own company and just external companies, guys that I follow, guys that I like, information. Like by the time you get to the game or even get to even Friday, like you're just like, God, I just want these guys to play. I don't really care now about the matchup. Like I feel like I've dove into it so much that even like trying to get an edge on the spread, honestly, I feel like if you're betting the spread right now, like the market represents what it actually is. Like if you could have probably gotten, Eagles +2, like when it first opened, when the Chiefs were -2, when it opened it up, like the second after those championship games. And then it completely pivoted over to -2.5 for the Eagles at one point. And now we're back down to 1.5 because the market has settled in. So at this point, I don't want to say don't bet on a side right now if you're looking at this game. But what I would say is the Super Bowl is probably one of the most casual football games of all time. Like when it comes to betting, like as far as like, obviously we're betting it, but like our friends and family probably aren't even considering betting it until Sunday morning. They're like, oh shit, I forgot there's a Super Bowl. Like I'm going to a Super Bowl party. I wouldn't mind putting $10 on the Chiefs, or whatever, but even most bookmakers and casinos will admit that majority of the traffic comes in the final 3 days, like leading into the Super Bowl. So right now, what the market is may not be the same by the time we get to Sunday. And I kind of feel like if you're looking at the Chiefs, you kind of have to bet them now because you're getting that 1.5. And I honestly, man, I just feel like with how many commercials Mahomes is in, just being kind of the face of the league,
playing at State Farm.
And just there's a lot of like you could even just go back and look at like they played there week 1 against Arizona and just fucking went to town on that defense. Now obviously big upgrade and matchup, but just the familiarity, like all these things that you can bring up about this game, man, that honestly I don't know if I would bet aside if you haven't already bet it until Sunday morning, because I would almost want to see what the market is telling you by the time you get to kickoff of how that spread moves before you actually make a move.
No, you hit it on the head. It's like what happens on these Super Bowls is because you have a 2-week lull. It's like when the line comes out, you'll have people just buy it. So what happened on this one is you had KC favored, and they saw the Mahomes injury, and obviously automatically you're gonna get Philly's money right away. It's like when you see a line like that, and it shifted the line 3 points really because it moved it to -1.5, and then moved it to 2.5. I thought it was at
but the one thing I would just only comment about that is it didn't really move past any key numbers. Like it didn't move past 3. Like I will say that in recent history, 2s have actually been a little bit more key number in closer games like this.
Sure,
but I would just say the point value when it moves through 0 like that is just way less in comparison to when it moves from -2.5 to -3 or -3.5. Like once it moves past those key numbers, you're starting to see incredible value on those half points or full point values as opposed to moving from -1 to -1.5. Sorry, I just wanted to mention that.
No, you hit it right on the head. It's like same thing with the total. And I mean, the total opened at 49.5 and it moved to like 50.5. But the numbers have stayed the same. It's like you still have time to buy the right numbers. But I think by the time Saturday hits, you're going to see a lot of movement, like moving around. A lot of the guys coming in from the weekends with duffel bags to bet on whatever side they're on. And it's going to move. It's going to shift the number back and forth. So it's going to be interesting by the time we hit kickoff where this number is going to lie on this one. I do have a take on the side at least.
Let's hear it.
But
let's hear it. Let's get to a pick. Let's hear it.
All right, so let's talk about the side here. I've made a pick. I'll say this is unofficial. I'm going to give my official pick on the Sunday show, Circa Million show, which we'll give the time on that one. But let me talk about this one here.
It's a very soft lean. Lean.
So you have KC Philly. Philly is -1.5. The over and under is 50.5 on this one. But I break this team down from. This is how you break down a cap. In my opinion, this is how I do it. It's like I start with the offensive line and I work my way out. It's like, so start with like the battle in the trenches is a saying, it's a phrase, but it holds truth. And actually, it was funny because they had Pat McAfee's show and they were talking about Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers says, like, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? He started breaking down the offensive line. That tells you something when you have an elite quarterback knowing what is the strength and weaknesses of a team starts at the lines. So let's talk about the KC Chiefs. They have the #1 passing offense in DVOA. They're ranked number 9 in rushing. So that's a testament to the offensive line. On the defensive side, we have a little bit of a middle of the road type of situation. They're ranked 20th in DVOA rush. They're ranked 5th. Now let's break down the lines like I was talking about here. So the run, they're ranked 9th in DVOA as far as run protection, but in pass, they're ranked 5th. They've only given up 26 sacks this year, but granted, you have Pat Mahomes that has some mobility, gets out of the pocket, and they're ranked 3rd overall as far as the total offensive line. Now you got to look at the Philly side on this one, okay? So the Philly side, they're ranked 9th in DVOA as far as passing is. Rushing, they're ranked 1st. All right, so we already know that this team wants to run the ball. They have the dual threat option with Thurs in the backfield because he has mobility. But now check out the defense in this one. This is key. The defense is 1st in DVOA as far as defensive passing is concerned, but they're ranked 21st in DVOA in the rush. What does that tell you? This is an aggressive defense, okay? They're going to come at you fast. They're going to come at you hard, but they're going to get the KC offensive line here that can protect the quarterback. I mean, you saw it last week versus Cincinnati. I was like, you had Pat Mahomes on a bum ankle, couldn't move at all. He only got sacked 3 times. I think that's a victory for the Kansas City Chiefs on this one. Now you look at the defensive line for the Eagles here. This is key. They're ranked dead last in DVOA in protecting against the run. Dead last, okay? But on passing, because they blitz so much and they put pressure on the quarterback, they're ranked number 1, 70 sacks, okay? But don't sleep on the KC defensive line here because they're ranked 3rd in DVOA as far as putting pressure on the quarterback. They have 55 sacks this year. Now you got to look at the offensive line for the Eagles. Rushing, they're great. Ranked 7th in DVOA, but when they talk about protecting against the pass, 21st in DVOA, 44 sacks. And people say like, oh, a lot of things happened in this one. Jalen Hurts was hurt. I was like, who took 38 of those sacks? Jalen Hurts. Okay. So take the Gardner Minshew stuff out. I was like, most of those sacks were not because Gardner Minshew was in the backfield. I was like, this team has taken sacks. And you're going to get the pass rush on the KC side that is ranked 3rd in DVOA. They have 55 sacks. This is a battle in the trenches here, folks. And if it comes to Philly having to pass the ball, and you actually saw it last week, they played a good running team versus the Bengals, and they were able to contain them. And they made Burrow pass. And guess what they did? Chris Jones put pressure on him. And it's like just bring the pressure to this team. They will falter on this line. And I think this is one of the situations that, I break down the stats. I go even a little bit further as far as their path to the playoffs. I think KC had the tougher path. Okay. I think KC easily. They had to play a team that beat them 3 times in a row with Joe Burrow at 3-point games every single time.
And frisky Jags team, man.
And you had
very frisky.
And you had Pat Mahomes, and that's a good point there, Mike Valena. Is like the strategy that I'm telling you is like if I'm Andy Reid right now, I'm trying to figure out how to run the ball as much as I can, control the clock, and because I have an injured quarterback with a bad ankle, I want to be able to give him the opportunities to be a playmaker, but I need to limit that because of the ankle injury. And I think that what they're going to, the strategy on this one is try to run the ball versus this Philly defense. That is their Achilles heel. They want teams to pass against them because they get, you get behind like 2 or 3 touchdowns. What are you going to be doing? You're going to be passing the ball.
Yep.
So I think that's how Casey's going to do it. They're going to have to change the strategy around a little bit. It's going to be very interesting to see though. But I'm leading KC on this one. Call me nuts. I think KC has a lot of control in this one. They're very balanced. And by the way, that defense, they could have fell over on their ass last week versus Cincinnati when Pat Mahomes was not playing great, even though he had 315 yards passing in that game. But they didn't. They played very well down the stretch, and they're very experienced in the Super Bowl, where the Eagles are not. So that's where I'm leaning right now. It's like I'm thinking I'm going to be riding KC on this one.
No, it's not a bad angle. I think one of the things that this might be going in a bigger conversation. I think it talks about more about the way that we handicap games. And this isn't anything against you specific or anybody else who does it, just more about when we look at the stats, like when we look at what happened, is that we look at the stats and we're like, they're number one versus DVOA. So that means KC will have zero success being able to run the ball. And so it's like, well, not necessarily zero success. And then it's like, well, KC's defense did X. It's like, okay, but what kind of caliber of quarterback and offense did they play throughout the season?
Sure.
And that's not meant to be taking anything away from Philly. They kicked the shit out of pretty much every team except Washington one game and Dallas with Gardner Minshew as the backup. Now, I will say it was a closer game in the first game with Cooper Rush, but that's just me being a salty Cowboys fan, so we can discount that. But one of the games that I think of, and I know that some of the personnel has changed. I know some people would look at this and say it's just a one-game sample size. You can't necessarily use that as a full qualifier. But these two teams played fairly recently. And not when I say fairly recently, like you look at a lot of the personnel who was on those teams, and a lot of it is a big overlap. And it was week 4 in 2021. And you would think, okay, well, the Chiefs just fucking dominated them because they put up 40 points. And actually entering the fourth quarter, it was 28-23. And then Tyreek Hill went off for 2 touchdowns. And then the Chiefs just sealed it. But one of the things that the Eagles had success in doing in that game is they were able to actually move the ball from a passing standpoint. And that's actually where the Chiefs have been a little bit more of a struggle. Like, not to say that they can't stop the run, because they're actually, if you look at the Chiefs stats throughout the year, I would never think that they have a strong run defense, but they only gave up, for example, like if I have to go back, it's 10 touchdowns to running backs all season. Like, it's not, and most people would think, well, they're up, so people abandon the run. And it's like, well, they're actually still pretty effective at stopping teams on third down as well. So, Steve Spagnuolo, I'm going to give him a little bit more credit on a defensive side where he's able to kind of come up with some game plans to be able to slow down this offense. Really what this game, I think, is going to come down to is you're going to see a one-possession game, and midway through the third quarter, just at the start of the fourth quarter, I think it's going to be like a one-possession game on either side. And what we're going to see is the Eagles start on their own territory, on the own 30, and whether they're down 4 or up 4, doesn't really matter. We're going to have to see if Jalen Hurts can convert a third down. That's really what this game is going to come down to, because we know that they can run the ball, but sometimes the run will get stuffed, and then eventually you put 8 in the box, and then it's like, okay, convert this third down. Throw it to Goddard, throw it to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, whoever. They have a plethora of weapons. Like, the Eagles have a shit ton of talent across the board.
100%.
It's just whether or not do you, as a bettor, trust Jalen Hurts to convert a late third down, whether it be by scrambling or whether it be by having to make that pass to Dallas Goedert over the middle. I personally don't see it, mainly just because ever since that shoulder injury, he has been a little limited. But also, I know some people would look at it as like, oh, you're a Cowboys fan, so you're just salty. You're just basically shitting on the Eagles. It's like, no, that's not the case. I just am like, all right, you're going to be put in a position now where you're facing the best team. Like, there's no like, oh, like we're going to face Josh Johnson and Tommy John, Brock Purdy. Let's see now, barring injury, like, again, and I think with the 2 weeks off, Mahomes is going to look really effective in this game. Just like if you look at just the difference between the Jaguars game after he got hurt to the Bengals game, it was night and day of how he looked as a quarterback on the field. And now you're giving him 2 more weeks off, all the state-of-the-art treatment that an athlete can get, tore it all up the ass. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so Mahomes is going to be Mahomes on Sunday. It's just more or less now, okay, we have the Eagles. They're very, very efficient on running on third down, especially on fourth down. They convert 90% of their fourth down conversions. Yep. And playing against a defense like this, I think they're going to be pretty effective at doing it. Do you trust Nick Sirianni and this coaching staff to put this team in position in the fourth quarter to make those winning plays, like where they're up 27-24 and we have to fucking bleed this clock and get this so that way Mahomes is on the sideline and that's the other thing too, is that it's like 2-minute drill. You leave Mahomes, like every bettor in the world, if the Chiefs are down within a score with the 2-minute drill, is going to be live betting the Chiefs money line and have no regrets about it, because they'll be like, look, if there's ever a time that you're going to pick a team come back on a 2-minute drill or any team to do it in the NFL. It's fucking Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's kind of where I don't know if people would feel that way about the Eagles. And again, just because I don't doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of the world shares that opinion. I mean, mind you, I will say that there's a big portion of content creators in the space who are all out of the Philadelphia area or Philadelphia Eagles fans who would beg to disagree. And I completely understand that. But just from my perspective, I have yet to see Jalen Hurts tested in that position where he has to go down and then win the game outside of against the Colts. I think in let's say week 10, let's just say as a hypothetical, but it was week 10 where they were trailing a touchdown. They had to go down. He scored the rushing touchdown and he legit put in an MVP effort. But then the Colts had their chance and Matt Ryan is the quarterback, not Patrick Mahomes. So, to go back and try to get that into field goal position or whatever else. So that's the difference, is that I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts can't go down and get a game-tying drive or convert it. I'm just not sure if the Eagles are going to be able to do enough to be able to stop Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback who is just so elusive and so is just the type of defenses you can game plan all you want and you could have number one DVOA. I've watched him rip apart defenses that were number one in DVOA. Like one of the biggest things that I always think of is, and just as a precursor to some of the bets that I have for touchdowns in this game, like I'm betting on Patrick Mahomes for an anytime touchdown at plus 500. And part of the reason is not just because of the odds, which are really good, by the way, but because you could argue it's like, well, he's playing against the number one defense, or, they're terrible against the run, only like two touchdowns of quarterbacks all season, and they were both Giants quarterbacks. So you could make all those cases. The Niners were also number one in defensive DVOA. They only allowed 7 touchdowns rushing all season. Entering the Super Bowl, they were friggin' crushing teams from a run standpoint. You could not run, and Patrick Mahomes scored the first touchdown in that game as like a plus 400 touchdown scorer. So for me, Mahomes is the type of guy who is it's just the difference maker, and that's it. And that's the difference between winning 27-24 and losing 24-20. Like, you know what I mean? Just that he could go down and score that touchdown. And there's probably only 3 quarterbacks in the entire NFL that you could actually trust, that you feel like they could go on any defense in the NFL and go convert and win that. So that's part of the reason why I feel that the Chiefs will win this game. But I also know that I'm going to come off as a salty hater, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And that I think the Chiefs will win, but I also don't feel like what I'm saying is being an Eagles hater. I'm taking Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs who win that fucking 5 straight AFC championship games. Like it's not like I'm taking like, the underdog, like, or whatever else, like a hot take here. So yeah, I'm with you on the Chiefs.
Yeah. I mean, when you get Pat Mahomes as an underdog, it's almost like, oh my God, they're giving me a gift, but it doesn't feel like a gift because everybody loves the Eagles. I want to get into, like you did talk about one of your props there with Pat Mahomes plus 500 on the touchdowns. Let's talk about your props on this one. What are you thinking are the good touchdown props or any other props that you have for the Super Bowl?
All right. Well, the first touchdown prop, I bet it legit guns like the day after the Super Bowl. As soon as I woke up, I didn't know if books would have the touchdown odds listed. Immediately they're up. So I'm immediately checking just to see where I get the best odds. And the guy that is now dropped down to plus 175, I would still bet it, but I don't love it as much because I didn't get as much value, is Dallas Goedert to score an anytime touchdown at plus 220. And part of the reason why you want to take Dallas Goedert is the Chiefs' defense of where they struggle. They actually struggle the most in stopping passes and conversion over the middle. They're really bad at stopping the slot. So they were 31st in the NFL in touchdowns allowed to the slot behind the Buccaneers. And that's where Goddard lines up exclusively in that offense. And if you go look through the game logs of just the Chiefs throughout this season, since they come off their bye in week 10, they've given up 1 touchdown to the slot in all but 2 games. And the only 2 games they didn't were against the Bengals in week 13 and the AFC Championship game. Every other game, a slot touchdown was scored. And he has really kind of developed the trust of Jalen Hurts. When you just go look back, now Jalen Hurts was kind of off again, on again starter 2 years ago. But at the start of the 2021 season is when he really came in as he's the day one starter. And in that time, he has really developed a connection with Dallas Goedert. Over the last 2 years, they have 83 first down catches together. So those are the key conversion catches. And to put that in perspective, that's more than the first 3 seasons combined when he had 76. But over the last 2 seasons, he has 83. And if he had played a full slate, like 17 games, he only played 12, he would actually been on pace to surpass A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith for the most first downs on the team. So Dallas Goedert, to me, I think even like I don't want to play it less than plus 175. I would argue that you could probably wait closer to kickoff, and you'll start to see some of these sports books put up those odds to try to entice more bettors and get more money into the fold, so you could get better odds than plus 175. So Dallas Goedert right now is my best bet. I locked it in. I wrote an article. I posted on the Action Network app as soon as I did it. That was basically Monday morning, right after the championship Sunday, and he has since moved down to plus 175. So hooray for me for having the championship belt of the CLV Olympics.
Perfect. I love the pick. Actually, I was like, you can't go wrong picking tight ends. I mean, they're opportunists and targets, and I think a lot of the public is going to go and hit the Travis Kelce market, and you go the other directions. And
they should, guns. Like Travis Kelce is not a bad pick. It's just not a pick that I make, and the reason being is because we have projected odds at Action Network. Like we're able to determine what a fair market value should be based on the amount of snaps he plays, the amount of targets he'll get, all that stuff. And he's right around plus 120. So not to say that like if you took it at minus 110 or minus 105, you're getting bad value. You're just not getting as best value as you can comparatively to what he should be out on the market. So Kelce, I would say if you haven't bet him yet, I would actually hold tight closer to the Super Bowl, much like Goddard, because what you're going to see is some of these sports books, they're going to be trying to get last minute deposits, and rightfully so. A lot of people, again, we talked about it, casuals who don't really bet football that much.
They wait till Sunday. They bet Sunday.
And they set up a new account, and you're going to see like sign up. Guess what? Super Boost today. We got Travis Kelce anytime touchdown at plus 120 or something like that, right? So you could probably wait a little bit longer. Like I doubt it's not going to go less than minus 110 or minus 120 or right around that range. So you could probably wait a little bit longer if you haven't put it in. But if you got it in at minus 110 now, no big deal. Like you're still going to feel pretty good about it. But the one option that I would argue, guns, why you want to look a little bit down the depth chart instead of taking Travis Kelce for an anytime touchdown. I actually think you should look at him as the first team touchdown scorer. So instead, obviously everybody loves to bet first touchdowns. That's, to me, it's still too volatile of a market to try to feel like I got an edge in. But when you look at actually looking at Chiefs first team touchdown score, which is available on every sports book, you can just go right to first team touchdown score. He's around plus 330 to score a touchdown. And that's the angle that I would take, because when you look through the full regular season of the Eagles, of their 18 games they played, 17 games they played, 6 of them saw a tight end score first. And Kelce has scored the first Chiefs touchdown in 8 of 19 games this year. So right away, you're seeing 33%, and then you're seeing closer to 45%. Those are not indicative of, or in a comparison standpoint, to what implied probability is for plus 330, right? Plus 330 is less, way less than 30%. So, and also if you just look at recency bias, like he scored the first Chiefs touchdown in both against the Jaguars and also against the Bengals this year as well. If you just look at from an odds comparison standpoint, he has had odds for this specific market at plus 250 or lower in 15 of 17 games this year. So already you're getting a little bit more value. Now, it might be around plus 300 now. Like I logged this yesterday on the Action Network app, and then, obviously you see some odds move on that. But I still like it when you see it around plus 300. And the reason being is because of all those details that I just listed above. So if I'm betting on Kelce, I'd rather just take a swing on this side instead of any time at, minus 110 or worse. Not to say that, again, you wouldn't cash it at the minus 110. I like to go after the more value, especially with the fact of how much of a red zone target this guy is, how much rest he's going to get. The Eagles are going to have to focus on him, but at the same time, he's just so good. It doesn't really matter if you double him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, perfect analysis, man. You gave some Good stuff there. I'll give you a boom on that one. The guy is just dropping heat right here and firing shots here on DadBodd's episode 110. We got to go into the college basketball segment.
I'm going to give one more prop before I go, though. I'll give
Gilles,
one more
give him
prop.
another prop. Give him another prop.
Well,
Tell
this is
the
the last one. Okay. So I gave you a touchdown prop. Yeah, we're going to go with Patrick Mahomes interception. And it's around minus 105 to minus 110. It's all across the board. Like, you're not going to see it less than or more than minus 110 in any book right now. So just from a recency bias standpoint, so he's got 4 interceptions and 2 career Super Bowls. So 2 against the Bucs, 2 against the Niners. And the thing with Patrick Mahomes that is interesting is that the interceptions and the turnover issues really hadn't started until like the start of last season. Like the first 3 seasons in his career, like, he had 1 year with 12 interceptions, but that wasn't really his thing. Like, that's more of a Josh Allen thing of throwing double digit picks. But since the start of the 2021 season, he has 25 interceptions in 39 games. Like, that's a lot. Like, that's closer to 60% of games. You're looking at probably almost like 65%, so just from an odds implication of what minus 105 and minus 110 is in comparison to what the truth is, you're already having an edge right there. So the other thing that I would say too is, I'll save this point for the end, but really just to go over some surface stats. Eagles, they're 3rd in the NFL in interceptions. They've got 17. Right. They finished 1st in sacks. More pressure obviously equals quicker decisions, which then increases turnover probability. They force an interception in 12 of their 20 games this year, if you include the playoffs. But the angle that I love the most, I'm not saying I made this bet only because of this angle, but this is the angle that I thought of. It's almost like a hedge, because I like the Chiefs to win, but the Eagles are getting so much steam and they're so good that if the Eagles win, Patrick Mahomes is throwing an interception. Because if you go back and look since the start of the 2021 season, the Chiefs have only lost 9 games. But if you look through all those games, what's the common theme here? He's thrown an interception in 7 of them. Like, so when they lose, he throws an interception. So if you're going to bet on the Eagles, you may as well just bet on Mahomes INT as like a hedge or a double down, because when the Chiefs lose, turnovers are typically involved. And this is what my last point is. I would not make this bet solely on this point, but somebody DM'd me this and it just cracked me up that I was like, I know I'm onto something. If you're in numerology, and again, I don't subscribe to this capping method at all, but Mahomes has 56 career interceptions and he's playing in Super Bowl 57. So this will be his 57th interception if he throws a pick on Sunday.
I love it. God damn, that is some great stuff fired away from the man, the myth, the legend, Gilles Gallant. You can find him on Twitter at GDog5000, DAWG. If you don't know the spelling, it ain't spelled like DOG, like you normally spell it. And you can find him on the Action Network. There, he does plenty of content, anytime touchdowns on Sundays, and everything else that he does for the Action Network. Any other plugs that you got for the people?
Absolutely.
You keep that out.
Yeah, Guns, you hinted at it at the start of the show. So on Sunday, we're going to be having a special Super Bowl edition of the Touchdown Show that is going to air at 2:30 Eastern, just a few hours before the Super Bowl, just so that make sure we have all of the content. It's going to start with Convince Me. It's the Action Network Power Hour. So you have Convince Me, and then right after that, you have the Touchdown Show. We all go together and we all give out our best bets. We're going to talk about different angles and methods of ways to approach the game as well. So that's every week during the football season, but this is obviously the last show. So we have done now, this will be our, we went through this earlier today because we've done some special editions of, this will be our 24th show of the season. And we'll be back obviously next year on the Action Network. And then pretty much once football season ends, after that, because I'll be still chiming in and being able to help in with NBA content. The Buckets podcast is a great thing to tune into every week and listen to on podcast networks. But I'll be honest with you, after the NFL season, I don't know about you, man, I am taking a solid 2-3 weeks off, like just not even like turning on my computer. I'm like probably going to delete Twitter off my phone. Like, I might, just like basically go vegan, for a couple weeks, just completely turn in my man card just for a couple
just
weeks.
just yoga and vegan everything and just
Almond milk,
cleanse, just a
yeah.
full cleanse. While I'm
Yeah.
out here just grinding all the way through the year like a schmuck on wheels while I'm eating raw meat and
Well,
gunpowder.
and to be fair, I will say that, like, not to say that our grinds are different. I
No.
would just say that we both grind, but my grind is 7 days a week for 22 weeks straight.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yours
kind of
is
one of
way
those.
different. I get it.
So it's one of those things where it's just like, even if I'm only working a couple hours each day, it's a couple. You have to put yourself into work mode every day. You don't ever unplug. So for me, and that's not complaining, that's just what it is. It's an awesome job. I love it, but just want to take a break. Am I allowed to have a break? Can a man relax?
Yes, you're allowed to have a break. Yeah, eventually you have to see your family. So that, and I know you got one. You got a beautiful family. Got to go hang out with them, and you got to go rekindle what you've neglected for 3 to 6 months. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you for joining the show, and man, thank you for giving the people the appropriate picks. Gilles Gallant, 8. Go check him out on Twitter at GDog5000. Go check out the content that he brings to the table. And after that, let's get Gil out of here. God damn it. And let's go into a ad read for Viva Tequila Seltzers.
This podcast is sponsored by Viva Tequila Seltzers.
That's right. Before we get into a little bit of college basketball talk, we got to give appropriate love for our sponsor, Viva Tequila Seltzers. Viva Tequila Seltzers is a refreshing and drinkable hard seltzer, 88 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and 4.5 ABV. Viva is the perfect drink for your Super Bowl celebrations, as it was created with the active lifestyle in mind. Viva flavors perfectly with their tequila seltzers because flavor is the spice of life, and they like their drinks with a little bit of a kick, as we like to live our lives. Viva flavors perfectly with their artisanal Blanco tequila for a subtle and refreshing drinks. Their belief is to live long, live well, and live it up. Hashtag Viva Up, and go check them out on Twitter at Viva Seltzers, and also go check them out online. They ship the booze to you, folks. I get them all the time. It is an absolutely perfect drink. I love them so much. Go check them out, vivaseltzers.com, if you want some of the drinks. And I know you beautiful bastards are waiting, and we're going to have a little bit of a takeover here from the Late Night Bangers Show. As you see the logo in here, hit the music. Bang, bang, bitches. Late Night Bangers edition of the DadBods podcast. Let me switch this back over to DadBods. There we go. I got 3 plays for you tonight. 3. I love the board tonight. I actually love these picks so much. Guess what I'm on? A 10-2 run so far on the Late Night Bangers show. So you need to check us out. I post the link every day to say, hey, go check us out. I got a few more picks for you, and I'm 10-2 on those picks. So let's get into it right now. Let's start with the first game on the slate. We're going to go Arizona State, Stanford. They're playing at Maples Pavilion in Stanford, California, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to be going with Stanford on this one in a revenge spot, 1 unit play -3. Let me tell you why. Listen, Arizona State is not a team you want to back ever. Arizona State is 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 games. And while Stanford, middle of the road, obviously, but they're 5-5 against the spread. Let's get into what Arizona State is bad at. They're bad at shooting here, folks. They're ranked 274th in field goal percentage, 269th in the country in three-point percentage, and 239th in two-point percentage. There is not a good spot for them. They are just a bad shooting team. Now you got to look at Stanford's offense on the other side of the spectrum here. They are ranked 77th in offensive efficiency and should do well on the boards facing this Arizona State team that is ranked 270th in defensive rebounds. Going back to the bad shooting with Arizona State, you say, "Whoa, they must get a lot of rebounds. They must get a lot of boards." Not so fast. I mean, Stanford is a good defensive rebounding team here, folks. They're ranked 49th in that category in the country. So, wherever they can get the garbage rebounds, they're going to have to contend with this Stanford Cardinals team on the boards here. And these two teams met on December 4th, 2022. Arizona State did win that game 64-70. They didn't cover the spread because Stanford was a 5.5-point dog. Now you see a significant line swing on this one, home versus away. And I always look for those opportunities. You get this opportunity here with a big line swing. So you have Stanford favored here at -3 right now. That's an 8.5-point swing from game A to game B. I'm going to be going with Stanford on this one. -3, 1 unit play. That's what we're going with now. Let's go into pick
cashing, baby. Ow!
Goddamn right, we're cashing on this one. Let's go to St. Mary's and Lower Marymount. They're playing at Gersten Pavilion, Los Angeles, California, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I am rolling with the doggy on this one. Hur, hur. Give me Lower Marymount +7.5, 1 unit special. Let me tell you why. Pure situational play on this one. Where did St. Mary's come from? They came from an OT win versus an opponent that I don't think they've ever beat in Gonzaga. This is a team that is going to be on the highs of highs, sniffing, their shit don't stink going into this game, and they're going to have to go play this Lower Marymount team on the road, by the way. And I think they're going to look ahead at this team right now. Now, Lower Marymount, they're coming off back-to-back road losses versus San Diego and BYU, not covering in both. So they're going to be a little bit hungry, chip on their shoulder type situation, going back home where they're at their most comfortable here. Now, both teams did meet on January 12th, where SMU did win the game 76-62 as 14-point favorites. Did push in that game. Now you see the significant line swing, 6.5-point line swing right now. Maybe dropping right now. Maybe at +7. I got it at +7.5. But now you see the line at +7.5 for Lower Marymount, LMU, going against a St. Mary's team that is in the highest of highs, beating their rival there. I'm also going to look at LMU right now. They're 6-1 against the spread at home in their last 7 home games. So I'm not going to back down from this team at all. I think St. Mary's, a lot of people are going to be thinking about oh, this team is really good. They are really good. I think this is a team that we need to back in the future. They have the number 4 defense as far as defensive efficiency is concerned with KenPom. That does concern me a little bit on this one, but I think it's one of those emotional situation type of games that we look for in college sports. So I'm going to be going with Lower Marymount +7.5, 1 unit play.
Wicked hat, kid. Wicked hat.
Little Boston special for you, kid. Let's go into another game on this one. Oh, this was an ad. And by the way, I have not released this one on Slack. This is for everybody that's watching right now on Twitter, on YouTube, and supporting the Sports Wagering Network. So if you don't support us now, you better do it now. Hit the like and subscribe button. Hit the like. Hit some comments on the way. I love you beautiful people so much, and I love the energy that you give to me. But let's talk about this one right now. Santa Barbara versus Long Beach State. They're playing at the Walter Pyramid, Long Beach, California, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to be rolling with UCSB -1 on this one. 1 unit play. Let me tell you why. Look at the numbers on this one. This is all UCSB all day. Offensive efficiency is ranked 115th in the country, 51st in field goal percentage, and 32nd in the country in 2-point percentage. May not sound good, but let's talk about Long Beach State here. Their defense is ranked 143rd in defensive efficiency, 103rd in defending field goal percentage, and 99th in defending the twos. So you have a better offense. against a worse defense. And I think this is a perfect spot to take the Gauchos, as they're called. Now you got to look at the other side of the ball here. With UCSB, defense is solid too. They're ranked 99th in defensive efficiency, 83rd in defensive field goals, and 29th in defending 2-point shots. Now, UCSB defense is weak at defending the three. However, doesn't matter because when you look at Long Beach State, they're ranked 347th in the country at defending, actually making 3-point shots. So it really doesn't matter. They're going to want to make the twos on this one. And I think this is a perfect spot to be rolling with the Gauchos. Another reason why. Now you got to look at Long Beach State's offensive strength is their rebounding because they miss so many damn shots. But they're facing the Gauchos here, ranked 51st in defensive rebounding. So it kind of washes out here. So I don't think they're going to have a lot of second chance shots versus UCSB on this one. Also, you got to look at how these teams perform road versus away. UCSB is 6-4 against the spread this season on the road, while Long Beach State is 3-5 against the spread at home. And also, you got to look at the Gauchos on this one, 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 road games. So they're heating up in the right time before March hits. So we're shooting, we're firing shots, and this I love so much. Give me UCSB -1 as a 1-unit play, and that is the best bet that I have for tonight. Only given to you, beautiful bastards that are watching me on YouTube, watching me on Twitter, and I'm just firing shots. God damn! Woo! I'm going to take a sip for that one. Exactly. Just told me loves these plays. Let's get the chat going, boys. I hope you're cashing with us, whether you be watching anything on this channel. I'm telling you, the Sharks going to be moving the NBA show over here. NFL, college basketball, hockey. We might be even doing cricket at this point. We'll find a cricket capper, God damn it. I'm telling you. I know producer Pun. I want to ask producer Pun right now. Actually, I want to give the people some. Do we have a late night play in hockey? I want to know. Let me add you in.
Tonight, nothing. What's up, fellas?
Yep. What's going on?
Nothing for hockey tonight. Late. There's not even a late game tonight. So sorry.
Okay.
Everything's live.
All good. That's what we do here. All right. That's it, folks. That's going to do it for DadBodd's 110. I want to thank Gilles Gallant for joining us for probably the 38th millionth time. He's always stepped up in the clutch and given you the appropriate prop plays. So hopefully you tail those. I am leaning KC for the Super Bowl. And also you have my 3 plays for college basketball tonight that start in 20 minutes. So thanks for everybody that's joining tonight on the DadBodd's 110. Good luck with all your picks. Let's cash some tickets. And as always, let's keep dancing. Punt, close them out.